It's amazing how simple you can have something growing. So we're going to start into our go to the right, all the way to the right. And on the path. So as you can see, this is our winter crops and low-cost greenhouses. I'm Stimpel, organic farmer, professional construction contractor. This is sponsored by Issachar Calling in collaboration with the USDA and OAO, Office of Advocacy and Outreach. Our workshop topics today, as you see in the pamphlet there, you can see that we have the low tunnels. We just have a little video on that. Farming during off-season, self-sustainability, greenhouses and tiny homes, and questions and answers. So that's, we'll go through 4 p.m. Today, and we'll go through some different slides here. So if you have any questions, just don't hesitate to raise your hand and call out. So Winter Crops 101, that's you're in school now. So learn how to do Winter Crops 101. So you're extending your grow season here. As you can see, as you read down through this list a little bit, you kind of know what happens when you do extend the grow season. You can do a lot of cold weather plants. We're going to talk about some of these cold weather plants that are coming up. As you saw those tunnels that were on that video, you saw how those tunnels were laid out across the ground and there were several of them right close to each other. You saw that they don't have to be very big. As a greenhouse, you have a larger tunnel. It's called a high tunnel. So that tunnel's a lot taller. So it takes up more room, so you don't have as much area to have these lower crops in. So that's why we like the low tunnel system a lot better, because you can have it around your property and in a real tight area. Some of the varieties that we use in the cold weather, you'll see here, we talk about the carrots and how they, in the cold, they really like, it brings the sugar up. I don't know how many of you like carrots, but I enjoy carrots. They have a good crunch to them. They're a good food to eat. And you can see when you sow them in the late summer, you get them started, and then you get them into the soil and get them going. And it's, how easily they grow with just a little bit of preparation for the winter time. And they'll last quite a while through the winter. Spinach, as you can see, I don't know how many of you enjoy a good spinach in your salad, but it's a good hardy plant for the winter time. It makes a nice, has a lot of antioxidants. It's really good for your system, but it's a nice winter crop that grows really well throughout the cold. And then leeks are similar to garlic. There's a lot of leeks, I don't know if you're familiar with, are like an onion. And so they have a lot of flavor to them, so you can use them in your soups and different, when you make salads or when you make different stews and things like that. So leeks are very easy to grow, they're not sensitive to the day length of the time. They'll grow without a long window of cocoa. And then we go to collards. I don't know if anybody knows much about collards. Some people like them better than kale, and they'll boil them or they'll use them in a salad. And there's different types of kale, obviously, or collards.
I think a lot of these plants are, when we were, this is like pre-Columbus, I might say, a lot of these were naturally found, and so we had them in our regular diet. And now a lot of us are pre-diabetic or diabetic, and I think that if we started growing these kinds of things, especially in the wintertime, because during the winter, all that's available are the fatty foods.
Right.
And it's not good for us.
No, and see, this is what we're trying to do, is we're trying to show you something that can help you, benefit you with the greens to help with the diet, diabetes and different things. So greens are a huge thing to help support the immune system. That's why we're really trying to concentrate on the greens and show you what is easy to grow, something that's very simple to do. You don't have to go out and spend a lot of money to grow simple little plots here. So that's what we're trying to, and she brought up a good point. That, these things, if you go to the store and buy these stuff is very expensive. So the money you can save right in your little spot in the backyard is enormous. So then the parsnips, it's like a carrot. Some people, some of these things you've probably not heard of. They're not something that you buy in the store all the time. But you can see they're like carrots. They have a lot of sugar in them, which is a good sugar for your body. It's not a bad sugar, and your body can break it down easily, but it's a green that really helps your body heal. So there's, as you can see, there's collards and parsnips. You probably would not recognize this because you don't go buy them in the store if you go to sell them. But we're trying to show you things that we know that are real hardy, that help, that can hang in there to them. And then obviously lettuce. Everybody likes lettuce, so there's different varieties of lettuce. It can come in the seeds are so small. It's amazing how small these little tiny lettuce seeds are. And they'll come back year after year after year.
Are we going to go over and discuss the early natural plants that we have in the area?
Well, we can talk about if you have some that you know of that are grown native here now.
Because my cousin used to have cattle over by the mesas, and so when we go there, sometimes we only pack a little bit of food, so we would have to go and find something, to eat while we're out there all day.
Right.
And there's wild onions that grow naturally, and they're really good, and then also carrots too, wild carrots.
Yeah, so wild carrots. Right here, we were just talking about so the wild onions is similar to the leeks. That's probably part of the leek family.
Yeah.
That onion that's wild there. It's amazing how a lot of these will keep coming back. And I have a garden at home, and the lettuce it goes crazy. When it goes to seed, that seed goes everywhere. So if you don't want lettuce all over your garden, you got to get that before it goes to seed and get it into your compost pile and use it up for good compost. So as you can see, the lettuce has a lot of good healthy benefits for us. It gives us our greens and helps with our immune system, building our immune system. And then we go to the cabbage. I don't know how many of you use cabbage at all with any of your food or cook with. Cabbage is an amazing vegetable or leafy green that's so hardy, and it has so many purposes that you can use it for. A lot of people make kind of like what do you call it? They pickle it, or they use it to make a coleslaw, sauerkraut. And that's amazing. It's a very simple process. You don't have to use vinegar. You can use a salt base to pickle it. And it will last for a long time. So it's amazing how long a lot of these vegetables will last, even in the ground, and then if you can them. So another good green. And then you have turnips. And I don't know how many are you familiar. There's a lot of variety of turnips. And we're talking about one of the turnips here that have, I guess it has a really low, you can go away 12 degrees, minus 12 degrees Celsius. That's pretty low. So these turnips probably were grown over in Russia or somewhere, and they found out, wow, like how well they do. But there's a lot of different flavors, and they talk about the heat of them because they are left longer in the ground, I believe. The longer they're left in the ground, the hotter they get. So there's when you prepare your beds and take care of the turnips, you don't want, a lot of people don't like the hot. They like the crunchy, fresh taste of just a good.
You can make horseradish with that.
Yeah, you can make horseradish with them if you let them go longer. And there's different varieties for different types. You know, like the little red radishes that we're used to seeing, and there's those big white ones. So there's different types of turnips out there as well. And then you go to the mache platania. If miner's lettuce, I don't know if where I live, we have this stuff grows around all the, if there's any kind of water, this stuff just grows naturally. It just comes back year round, and it germinates very simple. It's a very self-germinating. These seeds are very easy. If you have any water, standing water, or any places where you have a creek, or if you have a faucet that leaks, this stuff, it'll just keep growing year round. It's amazing the resilience of this. It can get just frozen out, and the leaves get bad, and you just pick them off, and then it'll come back even better. So it's very resilient to the cold and to frost, and it's a nice, has a different flavor, but it's not bitter. It has a, as a young man growing up, I would go out and just grab it, and we'd make our salad as we were camping or doing different things. Because it grows out in the wild, very easy to find in our Northern California area. And I'm sure it probably is around different creeks and different areas up here. We haven't identified it. So it's a very nice complement to salad. Has a good flavor to it. And the Swiss chard, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Swiss chard. It has different colors. It's amazing. They have rainbow Swiss chard. They have all different kinds of Swiss chard. And that has the baby ones, when they're really small, they have a better flavor to them. And I use a green drink, and I put those in my green drink. So they have a really high tolerance as well. So they'll survive in a really cold environment. And you can see how when they're young and just little, you just clip them off and they'll keep growing. They'll keep sending out. So they don't die off very easily. You can really get them to last a lot longer. So if that's helpful with the 10 cold, hardy vegetables, we can always find more, I'm sure, that we can talk about later. If you can Google more, even if you need some more information for maybe this local area that's helpful. We saw that video that talked about the low tunnels. The low tunnels, you know, there's different methods. As you can see here, this is similar to what we're going to do a demonstration on with one like this. And it just uses a simple hoop, and you can put soil around the base of it. You can make them really long, 100 feet long. You can make them shorter. We're going to supply 16 foot by 4 foot approximately width on the hoop tunnels that we're going to work with. And so you can see how they're, if you don't want to use them in the summertime, you don't necessarily need them in the summertime. They're more for when the ground starts changing temperatures. So you want to use these as you're preparing to go into the winter season. So as fall, you start getting all your seedlings going, like we talked about the carrots and the different things. You try to get those started, and then you transplant them into the little hoop house. And it makes a big difference on how that sun heats them and keeps them, you know, how the wind gets taken off here. It's amazing how this protects them and keeps them from getting blasted. I've helped with a big, huge greenhouse project in Denver area, and the wind is just as intense there. In the summertime, the wind will come up and just destroy what you just put. Ground. So it's nice to have these low little, you know, you spend all this money, you get all these tomato plants and all these different vegetables growing, and they're only like 8 inches out of the ground. So if you just do a simple little cover with those to protect them, and you know when the wind's going to come flying through, you can tell pretty much early in the morning that it's going to get windy. You can cover them and protect your crops now. So that's a huge difference in saving of all your investment now that you just invested in all your plants. So we did little tiny ones on each plant because we didn't do a long one, so we just did a little cover on each little plant. We just took some wire and bent it over and put some special cloth over it so it would protect it from just getting blasted by the sand, you know. And it's amazing how it can just destroy a plant and just strip it with very little time with the wind. So this kind of gives you, on that video that we had, gives you an idea there. This is the one we just watched, this video that we just watched, the low tunnel loop slope cover. And then steps to building a low tunnel. So you got to select the PVC pipe. Depending on how wide you're going, if you're making a larger one, the size of pipe, if you're just doing a small, like a 4-foot wide one, and it comes up about 3 foot tall, you only need 3/4, or 1/2 inch even would work. 3/4 will go, you can use a 20-foot piece of 3/4 PVC, put a piece of rebar, and you can bend it over and make it a taller one. So it depends on what size you want. So you have to select the size, the PVC to be used for the size of the tunnel you're going to do. And then you obviously go through the list there, and you can see that you can use clips, like she had said in that video. Did you see how that simple she used? Clothespins. You can use any type of you can get a package of these clips at any Harbor Freight, any of these Home Depot, Lowe's, any of these building supplies. You can get clips that are just like, they're plastic, and they just have like a big clamp clip. And you can put that, or you can use sandbags. And you can get sandbags very inexpensive. And obviously we have plenty of sand, so just fill them up, and then you put them on the side of the plastic, on the side of, so that the wind doesn't come through and just raise it up. So that's kind of gives you an idea on So this gentleman here has another way to do it with metal. Probably should we start? So you will be able to take that out. So that's why I wanted to show you how simple this was. And we're going to bend these and make them up for you, and so that you can take them with you. And we have the plastic to go with it. We have those little seed starter trays, and you can start. You can get a winter crop mown underneath one of these. So that's kind of why we're showing a lot of these videos to you, so you can see how this works, how easy it is, how simple we can do this. And so I believe that most of us here will get one of these kits, so there's no problem with that. We're trying to help everybody make sure that you understand how these work. So that's why we're showing the videos, giving you, because sometimes you get more of a better understanding when you get a visual, instead of me talking all the time. So it gives you kind of a better understanding of what we're doing.
Well, the reason why I'm asking that is that if you made it more sturdier and make it more heavier, a lot of these farmers, they have tractors or front end loaders, and they can just lift the whole thing and move it around. But these here, you're going to have to put it together every time.
But that's because you don't use these in the summer. Does that make sense? You use these more for the winter time. And this is for a smaller area for you to work on. Whereas, like you said, the bigger farmers, they're going to be working the bigger fields and their bigger greenhouse. Now, there's a greenhouse out here. I don't know if you've seen it. It's down right below us here. And that has, a tractor can actually drive in that. But we don't usually drive tractors into greenhouses and work with tractors. Greenhouses are more designed for you as an individual or your family to work inside of, to help protect your plants as you're starting them from seedlings and bringing them up to full maturity to harvest them. So a greenhouse protects you from a lot of environmental, the sun, the temperatures of the frost, and the cold and the wind. And so it gives you more of a controlled climate inside of that greenhouse, and the ground, you can prepare the ground better. So that's what the greenhouse is really designed for. Sure, you can make them differently, you can make them square, but we find that we need to roll them up on the sides. And so as you saw that one video, she saw how she rolled the plastic up on the sides of it. to help, because they get hot inside it. I mean, a day like this, even with it being overcast right now, they still get pretty hot inside, and a lot of moisture builds up inside of it. And so you have to be real careful. You don't want, like she had said, you don't want to burn your plants inside. So this is something that's simple as for you individuals to be able to do it on your own and not have to deal with having a huge equipment or having a lot of help. Some people don't have that. You're an individual by yourself, and you need to have something very simple. So we're trying to do this as a simple solution to help you in your backyard, alongside your mobile home, wherever you're at. You could put this system up very simple. These metal ones will last a lot longer. Now, we brought one in that's a this is a PVC electrical conduit. And you see how flexible they are? They're a little easier to work with because of that, but they don't last as, they don't form as well. So you really have to have a good bender and really, and you have to have them hot to get them to work. Whereas that metal one that we do, it makes them, you saw how perfect those are. It'll make them nice, and it's nice to have a clean row, and everything lined up good. This is a little bit more flexible. This works fine, but you got to, you got to put rebar, so there's another step. For those metal ones, we don't have to put rebar because they'll go right in the ground. These ones, so you have to have another step of putting rebar in the ground every 4 feet or every 3 feet, and then put these, so you just lay your string line out on each side, and you put your rebar, and then these over the rebar, and then you put your plastic over the top.
Well, that's the stability too.
And it's amazing. Even see, that's once it gets with the rebar, it's pretty stable. It's amazing how stable it is. But it's a more inexpensive way to do so there's several different ways to do these low tunnels. We call them low greenhouses. This is a really low cost one, and they'll last for quite a while. The PVC, this is a electrical PVC, which takes the UV. The other ones don't last as long, so they'll take a little bit more of a beating. But if you don't have the money to pay for a lot of this stuff, you can use this regular PVC. So this is a least expensive hoop that you can use instead of the metal. So if you don't have a bender, this is what you would use. You would take this and put if it's straight, let me show, I'll get you a straight piece. Let me sign in here.
And then I need you to fill out on the packet here. There's a couple sheets in there I need you to fill out and come back to me when you can.
It's free, so that's good.
So here's an example of a pipe for their benders. Here's the rigid conduit that he was working with. And
Am I understanding that you put the rebar in it and it's sticking out so far and then you place it over that?
correct. So
So that doesn't have to go with the ground?
this doesn't have to go with rebar. So this saves a step. And he reuses that. As you notice, he reused those over and over and over again.
But those go into the ground? how
These
many?
go into the ground,
How
correct.
many?
It depends. I mean, he talked about that a little bit. Remember, he said that he marks 20 inches up and he pushes them into the ground a little bit, like a foot or so in. Depending on how high you want that tunnel.
Yeah.
So you could probably push them in the ground like a foot, depending on how, if your ground's real soft, you may need to put a piece of rebar. If this is not, staying up and it's falling over because your ground, you may have to put something in there. Now, let's say you have the rebar in the ground. Already you have some rebar, you've made it, so you stick that rebar into the rebar, and then you put another piece of rebar, so that you don't have to use a bender. So now you can just use regular white PVC that you can buy inexpensively, and there's your hoop. But you have to use rebar to keep that from coming back like that. So that's the other hoop. Somebody had a question out here?
That metal thing is aluminum?
This is actual metal. It's an electrical conduit. And you get this at Home Depot or Lowe's.
So
where do you
These are
get
kind
your-
of flexible?
These are not. See how rigid they are?
Yeah.
But with that bender that we have a bender, and they bend they'll bend. And you gotta be careful, that's why you have to use a bender that has a preset gauge in it, so you can bend it and make that hoop for it. So that's what we're gonna make these kits that we're gonna give you. You're gonna watch us bend them, you can help us bend them, we'll make up the kits for you so that you have them pre-bent.
Where do you get the benders?
You can go online, Amazon has the benders. That's where we got ours. And remember he mentioned on the video, Johnny Seed, very pricey. We were amazed. So he was kind of selling Johnny Seed, as you could tell. He was almost like a salesman for Johnny Seed because he had a lot of stuff from Johnny Seed. Johnny Seed has a lot of good seeds. That company supplies a lot of good seeds. They're good quality seeds. We find things on Amazon. We just look at that and look on Amazon Prime, and you can have it shipped right to your home. If you don't have that availability, come to us and we'll help you. You can just give us the money and we'll have it shipped here and you can come pick it up here. So that's helpful because a lot of people don't have internet or Amazon. We can order it for you if you give us the money in advance, and you come, and it tells you how long it takes to get here, and you can come. So you'll be able to, in this workshop, we're going to teach you how to use that bender, the one that we have, and you can make them, and so that you can, if you want to buy some more of these hoops down the road and make more hoop houses. These are only, this hoop is only, as you see, he's only making them approximately 3 feet tall. So this isn't the tall ones. Now they have taller ones, and that's what we're going to do down at Shiprock at the chapter house, there at the community garden. We're going to go there this afternoon, and we're going to use 2-inch PVC pipe. And it's going to be a big wide, 12-foot wide by 16-foot long greenhouse. And that's the inexpensive way. Now these ones that we have out here, these are metal. As you walk outside, we can take a break later on, we can walk in and look at this greenhouse that's down here. This is a very expensive greenhouse. These are not, I'm sure they're probably at least $10,000, $5,000, some of these, because of the links and the pipe that's inside of them and the plastic that goes over them. So these are very, if you have that money and you want to spend that kind of money to grow crops, and that's fine, but we're trying to reach people that don't have a lot of money, and this is very affordable, sustained gardening and farming. So that's why we're using the smaller ones. So you can obviously see you can get big and small and different sizes on that. Anybody else have questions? All right, good. All right, we'll go forward. Good to have you show up. Thank you for coming. I'll get to, so whenever you get a chance to fill that paperwork out, just send it back to me. I think you did. Yeah.
So you mentioned before you can put it over a raised bed.
Mm-hmm. So let's say you have raised beds at home. A lot of people will have raised beds at home. And we're going to do a raised bed down here at the chapter house so you can get an idea what a raised bed is. And I just use a 2x6. And then you can add your soils to that. Because a lot of times your soil is so terrible here, you don't have any nutrients in it at all. So you go buy soil from either Home Depot, Lowe's, or a company here that sells soil, and you put that into that raised bed. And then you can transplant your starts into that raised bed. And like he said, he puts these, so this would be if you had a raised bed, you would take that and put it, the raised bed would be a 2x6 board sitting on the side here, and you just put that over the raised bed, and the bed would be, approximately 3 foot wide or so. And so we would know that when we make the bend in the metal, we'll know exactly what the width is that you can make the raised bed so these can go over. I believe him talking about a 30-inch wide raised bed, and he says these are too wide, you kind of don't put them straight across, so you can make them tight to the sides of your raised bed. They don't have to be directly parallel from one side to the other. So as you go over the raised bed, you can kick them a little bit. You don't have to be straight from one side to the next side. So the raised bed is a huge help with controlling your soil. We're putting because the prairie dogs obviously love to eat everything you put in the ground. So I'm going to show you a way. It's a little bit expensive, but it helps keep the prairie dogs out without poisoning them, without shooting them, not being home, and not having to worry about some critter getting up inside your garden. So it's a special fabric that we have, and you can buy it right at Home Depot, Lowe's. It's basically like a poultry fencing that comes in 3 foot, comes in 2 foot lengths, and it's a roll 3 foot by 50 foot long. And you can roll that down on the ground first before you put your good soil in. And you pin that to the ground, and they can't come through that. So it protects your plants. We've done huge hoop houses, And we buy it, you know, bigger rolls from, you know, a fencing company, and we line that because we don't want to lose all of our crops inside there. Because that's a very, you know, you spend a lot of time, and you don't have the time to sit out there with a gun, or, well, you don't want to poison, because poison, what that does is that gets down into the water system, that gets into your animals. It's not productive to use poison. It's just, it really, I mean, I hate to say that you gotta get rid of these poor guys, but they tear up your garden, and what, all that time that you spent, now you have nothing left. So you have to eradicate them somehow, or keep them out somehow. However you want to do it, this is the most humane way to take care of these guys in a smaller setting, in a smaller greenhouse setting. So I brought this so I can show you how to use this real small fencing type wire. It's about a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch square on each, you know, as you roll it out. It's kind of like a cloth, they call it a fencing cloth. But it's stainless, or it's a galvanized metal. So it's welded galvanized metal, so it'll last in the ground for a long, long time. And you can leave it there, pull it up, you know, take it out, redo it. So it'll last a long time in the ground, because it won't rust like a lot of other fencing. So does that answer some questions about, anybody else have questions about the hoop houses and the different things? And to go back to your question, if you didn't have, and you had wood, and you wanted to build something out of wood, sure, you could make it square. You could take 2x4s, and you could, you know, today we're going to not get into the 2x4 building over the end of the greenhouse. We'll do that probably Sunday. We'll build it in where the plywood and the doors go. So I can show you some different things that I've made. And I've taken 20-foot sticks of this PVC and just bent them, and I've just made a simple frame out of wood on the ends, and that's what we're going to do on the demonstration. So you can use 2x4s to make a square one if you want to use a square, but it's hard to get that plastic over it. And you have to protect any sharp edges. That's why the round radius protects it. Because you can reuse this, it's a green, this is a special, this isn't just visqueen that you would buy at Home Depot or Lowe's or any of your building places. This is a special greenhouse plastic that we're giving you that's a little bit more, it takes the UV, doesn't break down. As you notice, a lot of tarps and a lot of things, once they sit out in the sun, they start coming apart, they start breaking down. These have like I believe a 5-year warranty on them, so they'll last, and probably even longer than that, as long as you don't leave them up year round. Because you don't really want it, you don't need to leave these up year round. Because once you have the things growing, you can take it off in the summertime and just let it grow naturally with the regular sun that you have. You're not worried about the temperature changes with that. So the plastic is really to help with your temperature changes when it comes to winter. So that you can save that plastic and make it even last longer. So this is, and you can use visqueen. You can use regular plastic you buy in a roll, but it doesn't last long. It'll break down. It'll eventually, within a couple of years, it'll go to pieces on you. So that investment that you just made disappears. So it's worth buying that special. And they sell it here. There's several places here in town that sell all the greenhouse special plastics. They sell the hoops. They sell all this stuff. And of course, quite a bit of money. So we're trying to help save money and to show you a very effective and efficient way to build these and not waste money on it and help you in the long run. Be able to have a nice garden and have these greens and different things that you can use for your home. So we're going to go on to another presentation. Anybody has any more questions?
How does the hoop houses, how do they stand up against really, really windy conditions? I mean, it's really windy all day long.
Yeah. So there was that one slide that showed us they use the sandbags when they bring the plastic down onto the ground. You put sandbags along the sides because the plastic is laid on the ground. And so you put it. Now she had talked about a raised bed. Now that raised bed can also have the same thing. You put sandbags on the side of that too. And then that one had you put a stake in at an angle, and then you pull the plastic tight and you wrap it around that stake at an angle and close the end off. So it doesn't have, like on a greenhouse, the taller hoop house that we're building, it has doors and ends on it that you open up and get. So those are more permanent. That greenhouse is going to stay there year round, and it's not going to be taken down. It's more of a permanent structure because it's something you're going to let the airflow come in, and if it's real windy, you'll close it all down to keep all the wind from taking, all your moisture out and putting all the tumble.
Does it matter whether it's north or south?
Yes, it does. Your orientation needs to, you know how the sun travels? The sun travels across this in the east-west, comes up in the morning, the east goes, so you want to locate that, and we'll show that when we go down here. We've already done operations, and that's something that I'm available for Monday and Tuesday to come out to your property and to look at your site and help you set up these little places and get them so that we get the orientation right, so that when the sun tracks, you get the most amount of sun on your little greenhouses. Anybody else have questions? Yes.
You grow mostly small for salads and stuff. What about watermelon and?
You could do that. You know how they like to sprawl out, so you
I feel as though this workshop's going to be really interesting. I feel like I'm going to learn a lot, and that I can apply to growing my own crops at home. I'm really excited to start planting. Even if I can start this winter, it would be really great. And I've always been curious about building my own greenhouse or just being more self-sufficient. So I'm really excited to see, what sort of things I can work on as a project.